Hello and welcome to another lesson. In this lesson we're going to go over a easy memorization trick for the OSI Layer 2 threats and countermeasures table that's presented in the books in the common body of knowledge. So before we get started on this, once again I just want to remind everybody that these are complicated and complex concepts that I've basically reduced down to the bare bones, and so you might be looking at this or listening to this and thinking, well, that's a little too simple for that topic. But the thing is with these mnemonics is they're just memory tricks. They're memory tools that you can use to recall the more complicated and more complex concepts that are presented in the CBK. So let's get into the phrase that you'll need to memorize for this and that you'll need to copy down onto your memorization sheet. Not copy down, but copy from your memorization sheet onto a blank piece of paper. I recommend doing this at least 50 to 100 times for the most difficult concepts. If you have a lot of experience in Domain 4, then you won't really need to do this. But for those of us who have very little experience in Domain 4, these kinds of things are very helpful. So here we go. The phrase that you're going to think of is going to be maids for, and we're going to say ver. We're just going to pronounce it as if it was some other language. So we're going to say maids ver, CBS, and CHP. So we're going to basically hire some maids for CBS and CHP. Sound good? Good. So let's write it down. We're going to write down the maids, and it's going to be maids V. Maids ver, or maids for. Again, keep an open mind. Maids V. And then you're going to have CBS and CHP. All right? So what does all this stuff stand for? Well, the M is for multicast. And your threat is going to be the brute force, denial of service. Your ARP, your ARP poisoning, the threat is going to be poisoning, ARP poisoning. And your ISL tagging, dynamic trunking protocol, is part of the VLAN technology, threats to the VLAN technology. This, I believe, as well, is also the VLAN, the double encapsulated 802.1q nested VLAN, and the isolation that can be used to launch attacks as well. So, and that's a big sentence, but still write it. It helps. Your spanning tree protocol and your VLAN MAC flooding. So, what are the countermeasures to put in place? So for the multicast, we would have constraining traffic to its own VLAN. For the ARP poisoning, we would have blocking traffic between attacker and device and checking the forward ARP packets for ID correctness. For the VLAN, or the ISL tagging and the dynamic trunking protocol threats, we would have simple configuration guidelines and patching updates. For your double encapsulated 802.1q, again, I believe this is part of the VLAN threats. You would have your C here for clear native VLAN from 802.1q trunks, and then this here applying these commands. For your spanning tree protocol, you would have your H here associated with the S, halt, and really what it is prevent or don't allow port mirroring, but we're going to use the word halt just because it is easier to, and it fits in with our little mnemonic here. Halt port mirroring and STP frame monitoring. And for your VLAN MAC flooding, we're going to have the P here for CHP, and it's going to be port security and dynamic VLAN and constraining the connectivity. So I've laid this out into a nice little table, and what I'll do is I'll put this as well into the memorization sheet, which I will update, and I'll put a link in the video description. Make sure that you copy this down from your memorization sheet and making any changes that you see fit. And again, just a reminder that these are very complicated concepts that have been reduced down to the very, very bare bones. And so I do recommend that you get familiar with what all these things are. And I've put some links in the video description to what these technologies are and what the threats and countermeasures are. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about that, go visit those links and get up to speed on what those are. Thanks again for watching, and head over to CISSPrep.net, where we have over 1,300 practice questions that are in the style of the real exam. Thanks, and have a great day.